Good morning, everyone. The pharmaceutical industry is a very profitable one because it produces a remedy, or a soother at least, for every kind of sickness and discomfort that we may be feeling. All we have to do is to make sure we take the right remedy. The importance of picking the right remedy for our sickness may be obvious when it comes to our bodies, but sometimes it is less obvious when it comes to the remedies for our soul. The Bible is very much like a pharmacy. There are many lessons in it that both teach us and soothe us. That is why it is important to read the Bible every day so that we are familiar with everything that God wants us to know. By doing that, we will know where to go in the Bible if something specific is troubling us. There are many sections in the Bible that would help us if we are feeling lonely, tired, angry, anxious, or hurt. And hopefully all of you have some of your favorite Bible verses. Some good ones in times of difficulty are Psalm 23, verse 4. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for you are with me, your rod and your staff, they comfort me. Just that one verse can help us through difficult times. Or perhaps a very small verse from the words of Jesus, "Come to me, all you who are labor and heavy laden, and I will give you rest." So when you read the Bible, try to write down or memorize a verse or two that will help you through the different situations that you are going through. The Bible has a remedy for everything we are going through, something that is much more important than the pills we take or the remedies from a pharmacy. And best of all, this Bible pharmacy is always open. It always offers us comfort and direction. It costs us nothing. And there are never any side effects to the Bible pharmacy. However, the Bible is a pharmacy, but is not a smorgasbord, where we pick and choose from a few verses that we like and overlook the ones that challenge us. We need to always see the bigger picture. Around the major feast days of the church, the Sunday readings are selected to highlight what we are preparing for. The church is like a good doctor who writes a specific prescription, but then leaves it up to us to follow the instructions and to take action. For example, today's gospel reading is about a man who gave a supper and invited many. What we would expect to be a happy story actually ends up also containing many very sad elements. We would expect that if this generous man invited many people, we would be hearing a story about how many people came, how much of a good time they had, and how grateful they were for being invited. Instead, we read about how those who were invited made excuses for why they could not come. The gospel tells us, "The first said to him, 'I have bought a farm, and I must go out and see it. I pray you, hold me excused.' And another said, 'I have bought 5 yoke of oxen, and I am on my way to try them. I pray you, hold me excused.' And another said, 'I have married a wife, and therefore I cannot come.' Since the supper was ready, the man who had sent the invitation ended up inviting and welcoming those who were not initially invited and whom he was not expecting." This gospel is specifically read 2 Sundays before Christmas because it is the right prescription for this time, as it reminds us that the birth of Jesus is an invitation to the greatest possible celebration we can think of. Many people had been waiting thousands of years for the coming of the Messiah. And now, Jesus, the Messiah, is here. However, instead of great joy, the birth of Jesus brought sadness to the ones who should have been the happiest. Think of a few examples that we see and heard of in today's gospel. Leaders. Every leader wants peace and prosperity in his country or in his kingdom. Therefore, Herod should have been one of the happiest people because the Prince of Peace was born under his reign. Very much like the guests in today's gospel, Herod rejected the invitation to the banquet of peace, to the banquet that the Prince of Peace was willing to lay out for all of us. The Gospel of Matthew tells us when Herod the king heard this, he was troubled, and all Jerusalem with him. The children should have also been happy, but ended up crying because Herod, in his fury, wanted all the newborn male children dead. The Gospel of Matthew tells us, then Herod, when he saw that he had been tricked by the wise men, was in a furious rage. He sent and killed all the male children in Bethlehem and in all that region who were 2 years old or under, according to the time which he had ascertained from the wise men. Mary and Joseph also should have been happy, and everyone around them should have welcomed Mary and Joseph. But what happened? They could not find room in the inn. Then immediately after Jesus was born, they had to flee to Egypt so that Herod would not kill Jesus. This reading and all the stories about the birth of Christ are like a pharmaceutical remedy that we need to take right now, because God urgently wants us to remind ourselves that He is inviting us to His major and magnificent banquet. We are all searching for happiness in the things around us, but that is not the right pill. God wants us to be happy around this time of year, and even more importantly, to be happy about the right things in our life, and that is our spiritual life. Ask yourself today a very simple question. How are you responding every day to God's invitation to dedicate your life to His Word? This is the banquet. The Bible is God's invitation. The Bible is God's letter, specially written and hand-delivered to each and every one of us. Have we opened it? Have we read it? And do we respond to it? Especially at this time of year in today's gospel, we're reminded that Christmas, which is a celebration of Jesus' birth, is an invitation for all of us to a wonderful and great banquet of faith. There is a very important reversal in today's gospel when the man prepared a great feast. Those who were expected to rejoice ended up rejecting the invitation and missed out. However, those who should have been sad because they were not initially invited ended up rejoicing because they were the ones who ended up at the party. Jesus invites us to a life of faith. This relationship with Him is like a banquet. We accept this invitation and are able to celebrate our faith when we accept Christ into our lives and turn to Him in times of joy and in times of difficulty. As these days bring us closer to the celebration of the birth of Jesus, let us reflect on how we have responded in our life to the banquet of blessings that God has showered upon us. Let us also reflect on how we will keep responding in faith to everything that comes our way in a spirit of joy. We can come up with many excuses to delay our positive response. But when we do, we will resemble those who in the gospel did not appreciate the blessed invitation and completely missed the celebration. Nothing in a pharmacy can help us if we do not take our medication properly. Equally so, we can only grow in our faith when we respond to God's daily invitation to welcome Him in our lives and to have that lovely blessing of knowing that we are welcomed at His banquet every day, right here, today, and right now.